this Xbox One X from eBay, and the listing states that it powers on for about 15 seconds, then turns off, and it does not show anything on the TV. The back cover is also missing. So let's get into it and see what we can find. Now, I was a little bit worried when this came through the post because it feels a little bit, or as if it's not packaged correctly, shall we say. Let's have a look and see what we've got inside. Let's just move that box out of the way. Okay, so there we go. Comes in some bubble wrap. So, as the listing stated, no back panel. I think some people remove that to not share the serial number. Shame just the whole thing comes off, but anyhow. Buttons seem to be working okay. A few scratches on the top, nothing too major though. All looks pretty straight. So it's a shame the plastic back panel is missing. Not to worry. This is probably something that I'm going to be using anyhow, so it's not as if we're going to sell it or anything, or give it away, as we have done on the Xbox S video. I'll put a link to the description below on that one. So let's get this powered on and see actually what we've got when we connect it up. Okay, so that's cabled up. Let's see what happens. Got power lights, which is a good thing. Now, I don't know if you can actually hear that on the video, but the hard drive sounds like it's struggling to actually spin up. Yep, and then it powers off again. Okay, let's try that once more. Yep, big hard drive clunks there. I don't know if you heard that. Definitely the hard drive trying to power up. And powers off again. Okay, so going by that then, my initial thoughts were this could be a HDMI port or HDMI retimer issue, but actually it might be a hard drive issue. So I think what we'll do first of all, we'll get the case off, take out the hard drive and pop in a spare hard drive and see where we get to with that. Right, so let's get the case off. So on the Xbox X, there's a couple of screws at the back which need to come off. One and two. Now obviously there's no warranty seal on this, so more than likely someone's had this open already. Normally the warranty sticker is just over the screws there. So let's just pop that down, slide the top forward, and it comes off. Just lift it off like so. Go. And then we have to start undoing these screws. The hard drive's actually just here, but we have to take the other side off first of all to get to it. So let's do that. I think that's all of them. Just here, on the, my bottom right, there's a connector for the front USB port. So you have to pop that off as well. Just get the right Torx. This is a Torx 9. The other screws which I took out were Torx 10. Now obviously it goes without saying you've got to be really careful with these connectors because they're obviously a ribbon cable, so they do rip quite easily if you're a little bit too harsh with them. That just pops off like so. and there's a ribbon cable which actually runs down the front as well to the eject button and the sync button. So you need to be very careful of those as we take the case off. So it's best to lift the back off first of all, and then don't, whatever you do, yank the case up, because then you'll see just here, you can see it on the camera, just move it forward a little bit so you can see it. There's the ribbon cable, and what I've seen quite a lot of people do is take the case off and then just rip it off, and then it rips the ribbon cable. So, one of the easiest things to do, what I've noticed, and it's mainly watching other videos, is just take this front power controller switch off. See, that's where on the front of the console where you hit the power, that's the switch for it. So you pop this off, it's still connected on there, and then it's easier just to pop the ribbon cable off. So it's just 3 screws there. 1, 2, and 3. And then similar to the Xbox S, this just pops off like so. Just get it in view for you. It just pops off, and then you've got a little bit of play. What I find easy is to bend it around and then just gently just slide the cable out, just like so. That's it. Pop that to one side, and then you're free to lift the remaining part of the case off. So you're always being careful not to break any of the cables. Now, when I first started this video, I truly thought it's going to be a HDMI port or retimer replacement, but the more I think about it, it could be the hard drive. So let's actually get through to the hard drive. And I believe there's a couple of screws here that we need to take off first of all. There's one there, and then one here. And that should pop off. Like so. So we can just pop the DVD drive off, and the hard drive is just underneath here. So what I'm going to do is actually take the cables out of the back of the DVD, hopefully without damaging it. And the reason I'm doing that is to get the other cables off the motherboard, you have to take the power supply out. So let's just pop them off the back of the DVD for now, which then I can get to the hard drive a little bit easier. So, one hard drive. So what we'll do, we'll swap that out with another drive. I've got a spare one and we'll power it up. So just for the hard drive, there's these 4 screws here. Let's undo those. Hard drive falls out. over quickly. Just quickly undo the connectors from the motherboard. That pops out. Now the actual caddy comes off quite easily, but what I'm going to do is just pop off these outer 4 screws. You can see that on the camera. So you've got some 4 big screws there, and then the 4 screws which then hold the hard drive to the caddy. I think we will get away with, just pop that to one side a second, just undoing the outer 4. Like so. That pops off to the hard drive. Connectors on the back, simply just pops off. Now pop that one to one side and then grab the spare drive that I've got. See, it just pops back on again. Put it back on the caddy. There's a couple of holes which line up at the top there with a couple of prongs on the back of the connector. Let's just line up the screw holes. Just do them up temporarily for now. If I get them to line up properly. So again, I'm not tightening these up all the way, just literally giving them a few turns, just so they hold the drive in place. Okay. Bring back the Xbox. Let's just pop that back in. Pop the connectors on. Got the power and data. Let's bring back our DVD drive and pop these connectors back on. And then what we'll do, we will power it up and see what we've got. So just temporarily putting the power controller back on. You don't actually need to put the ribbon cables back on just to power it up, because the buttons, the micro buttons, just there. Just there. So that's temporary on. Right, so let's power it up and see what happens. Okay, so that's all connected up. As I say, I haven't put the case back on yet because this might not fix it, but let's give it a try. So hit the little micro switch button there. Got the white light, which is good. Fan spinning. Hard drive sounds much better now. There we go. Looking promising. Look at that. That was an easy fix, wasn't it? Okay, so what I'll do, I'll power it off now and then pull the case back on. But that just goes to show now, every time you see a no video issue on some of the Xboxes, it's not necessarily the HDMI port or the HDMI retimer. It could be something else completely unrelated to video, which is what we found out today. So very happy about that. I'll power it off. The hard drive probably needs reformatting. This is just a temporary hard drive, but I'll get that reformatted and get the Xbox OS loaded back onto it. And as I say, we put the case back on and we're done. Okay, so first things first, let's just pop off the power board again, and because we need to tighten those screws up on the hard drive. Pull off those cables. Detach the hard drive cables from the motherboard. Just grab our screwdriver and let's just tighten these up, make sure they're nice and tight. As I say, this hard drive needs the Xbox OS reinstalling, but that's not a problem. We can do that via the USB stick method. I've got a video showing you how to do that, so I'll put a link in the description below for that as well. So hard drive, just plonk it back on, connect up the data and power cables, back onto the motherboard like so. Grab the DVD drive again, pop that back on. While we're here, let's just give everything a quick clean. So just got some isopropanol. The fan does look absolutely very clean actually, so that's quite good. Like the actual fan blades. Okay, quick visual inspection, everything's good. So we'll quickly pop it back round again. See if we can stick our fingers just through there just to hold the hard drive in place as we do the screws back up again. Make sure the DVD drive is still sitting nicely because it moved as the hard drive popped out. There we go. Pop it back over. Now the RF shield itself is quite dirty, so I'm going to give that a bit of a clean. Okay, that's cleaned up now. Let's pop the RF gasket cover back on, give it a shut down. Let's pop the couple of screws back in. Get it around the right way. So one screw over here. And then there's the slightly shorter screw over here on this side. Like so. Done. Good, that's nice and lined up. We need to put the case back on. You just need to be really careful of the ribbon cables, obviously. So line up your DVD with the front of the case, pop it on, and it should just pop down nice and easy once you're in the right place. Obviously being careful of your ribbon cables and the USB controller cable. Now what we can do is grab our power board again, and because we took this off earlier, it does make our life a little bit easier now because we've got a little bit of flex on the cable and it's easy for us to connect up the ribbon cable again. So the easiest way I find to do it, just spin it around, is hopefully the camera's picking this up. There's a little black line on the ribbon cable itself. Just grab a pair of tweezers, grab the ribbon cable itself behind the black line, offer it up to the connector on the power board, and you'll know where you are because it'll start to pop in, and just give it a tiny bit of a wiggle, it pops in just like that. Don't use too much force because you'll break either the socket on the motherboard or you might even tear the ribbon cable itself. Just be careful of that. Obviously push the excess of the ribbon cable back into the Xbox like so, just nice and gently, then pop back on the power board connector and pop our screws in. One, two, and three. Good. And flip it over, then connect back up the cable for the USB. So again, need to be careful with this. So you line up the holes first of all, give it just a very gentle push down, you'll feel it pop into place. Then pop the screws back in. You know, if that's not, feels like it's not lining up properly, then obviously don't push it because you'll end up breaking the pins or the sockets. Like so. Okay, then all that is left to do is pop in our long screws and then pop on the case. So last thing to do is just pop in our case. There's a few grooves along here which then match up to the grooves on the top part of the case. So I start probably about halfway down, and then just make sure the grooves are aligned on either side, like so, and then just give it a shove back all the way. Flip it up, pop out the last two screws on. One, and two, and there you have it. One fixed Xbox X. Now that was a lot easier fix than I thought it would be, to be completely honest. It's you know, I thought it was going to be, as I say, an HDMI port or HDMI retimer chip that needs replacing, but it turns out it was just a hard drive that was faulty. So as I was, you know, powering on for the first time, you could hear this hard drive clunking away. So obviously the heads inside the hard drive, they're stuck, so the powers get into the hard drive, but then there's obviously some kind of system check that the Xbox does to say, has the hard drive got all the power it needs, and is the hard drive spinning, and can I read the data off of this disk? When it says no, the Xbox power's off. So that was the problem. So that's naff, that's good enough for the bin now, or the recycling. But what we do have is a working Xbox One X. So thanks very much for watching the video. Really appreciate your view as always. Please consider subscribing and give us a thumbs up. It's always very much appreciated.